Mic check. Mic check. Got to make sure my sound is on. Give it a couple few minutes so people can check in with me. Today is a very busy day for me, but I watched this interview on the Breakfast Club with Eboni K. Williams, and I wanted to make sure I addressed it and gave my opinion on it before it became too crazy out here and everybody starts to um, jump on her head. Like it's been crazy. It's been like a week or so since she did the Dr. Iyanla Vanzant interview in which she said, let me put it in a complete context. Dr. Iyanla Vanzant asked her if she would date a bus driver, and Eboni K. Williams said, yeah, if he owned the bus. And this has turned into a media circus and it's gone viral and it's been a crazy week for her. So she ended up on the Breakfast Club, and I won't say she stood by what she said. She actually put some juice on it. I won't even say she stood by it. She put some juice on it, and that juice was to say that the Black community is too accepting of mediocrity. And I agree. Even though I feel like that wasn't the context that she initially used to answer that question, I agree with that part of the Breakfast Club interview. I don't want to get this any type of, I don't want to take it out of, I don't want to separate it. Being that I don't want to separate it, I will address the fact that she said she would only date the bus driver if he owned the bus, because she believes in ownership, is what she came back and said. It's how she defended the statement. And we should all believe in ownership because ownership is the only way to create generational wealth. You are not going to create generational wealth by working a 9 to 5. What you could do is set your children up to create generational wealth by working a 9 to 5. It is nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. In fact, you may have to work a 9 to 5 in order to get your business off the ground. You have to, you may be your first partner. Your 9 to 5 may be your first partner to get your business off of the ground, because if you don't invest in you, nobody else will. So Eboni K. Williams is the author of Bet on Black. So she talks about how we can create generational wealth and how we can close the wealth gap between us and other communities. She even brought up a chart that I actually posted about a week or two ago, and the chart was about what the average American made. So it was the average Korean American, Asian American, Indian American, white American, Black American, whatever. It's like a whole chart. And I believe the Asians were at the top of the chart and they were making like 120 on average. And the Black Americans were only making about 30, 32 on average. This is not to say that we don't make money, or, it's not people making millions of dollars, but on average, the Black community is 3 to 4 times behind what the highest community of Americans are making. So she even went on to talk about the college, and HBCUs are graduating females at a rate of 2 to 1 versus males. So the Black male is actually falling further and further behind in everything. So this creates an argument anytime you talk about standards. It creates an argument, and I'm going to use this to discuss the second part of my black male and female relationships, because this is what actually brought me to having that conversation. It was six-figure males making statements about what they wanted in their women, and it was about how women responded to that. It was a conversation that I had with someone, and the women responded to that, and the women that responded were actually doing pretty good themselves. So the women that responded said that the expectations were unrealistic because it contained certain things like tattoos and children from prior relationships and different things like that. So these standards actually shut some of these women out of the conversation. So when that was done, that turned into an argument. This is the flip side of that, because Eboni K. Williams has made a statement that took a lot of people out of the conversation, and there was a lot of backlash about it. Standards are standards, and it's nothing wrong with having standards. We should not be so afraid of setting a bar. Why should we accept C's and D's from our children? I don't accept C's from my children. I don't accept C's from my children. I recently posted my last report card before I graduated this semester, and I had all A's and one B. Why would I ever allow my children to bring in anything less than what I demand from myself? So we're getting to the point of where we're saying, as long as they go to school, it's all good. As long as I'm not getting phone calls from teachers saying that they're acting up in school, then it's all good. As long as they're not being suspended from school, then it's all good. That is not what our jobs as parents is. Our jobs as parents is not to drop our kids off and pick them up. I am at every teacher conference that I can make, every award ceremony, every PTA meeting. I am doing everything I can do to be involved in my children's schooling. I help with homework. I do as much as I can, because school is not a babysitter. School is meant to set your kids up for their future. Stop thinking that a C is okay. A C is average. I am not accepting mediocrity from anybody in my home. I am not giving mediocrity. I am not going to school and saying, well, I got a C, so be it. I got a C over here, or I'm average doing this, so be it. At anything I do, I'm trying to be the best that I can be. Now, my limitations may set me at an average standard. I may only be an average football player or average tennis player or an average whatever, but I'm not accepting that. I'm going to play until I get better if that's something that I enjoy doing. Stop getting mad at people for setting standards. Stop getting mad at people for holding some type of bar, and start thinking about what your bar should be. Is if you're doing anything, I don't care if you have a laundry business, you should not wash clothes average. I don't care if you sell dinners out your back door, you should not make average dinners. You should not be happy with a customer saying, yeah, this was all right. If you cut hair, you should not be okay with just doing okay haircuts or okay lineups, okay blends. It's nothing wrong with doing it, but you shouldn't be happy about doing it. Nobody should be happy about being average. Being average means that you are in the 40 to 60% percentile. So there is another 40 percentage. You got 40% that you can maneuver to do better. Who hovers around 60, 70%? That's D and C. Who hovers around a D and a C and is actually okay with it? So when you get Black women talking about what they expect, Black professional women, successful Black women, educated Black women saying what they want out of a man, everybody feels like something is wrong. There is nothing wrong with standards. It is definitely something wrong with being average. And I have I have set a certain standard for myself. So even in music, my first couple projects were all right. I didn't like the fact that they were all right. So I went back in, I found certain producers. I found a sound that I could tighten up and I could master my sound. And I worked with that because nobody wants to be average. I may have just been an average trap rapper if I wanted to do trap rap. I may have been an average uh uh auto-tune singer, rapper, whatever. So when you are just average, you are towing the line of good and bad. Who wants to be average? Why is everybody so mad at someone saying we should not settle for mediocrity? We should not settle for just being a bus driver. And I agree. It's nothing wrong with you driving the bus, but you should not settle for, hey, I'm going to just drive this bus for 20 years and retire. I'm going to just drive this bus and barely make ends meet. Or I'm going to just drive this bus because I don't want to further my education and do something that can make me a little bit more money or a lot more money. Why keep shooting someone who's telling us that we should do better? Now, women set the standard for black men because if women accept certain things, then black men do certain things. If women said, listen, y'all, we're not dealing with people with pants sagging and they hat to the back and people that can't put together a proper sentence and people that want to drive buses, men would do more to appease the women because it's not what we live for, but standards control your life. The standards for people are so low, even with some of the women, some of the twerking and all of that stuff. Men are accepting of that. We rarely see people of other races doing some of the things that we do online or in videos or whatever. You rarely see this. And when somebody comes along and say, hey, that's not right, you have people shooting them down because they're saying we need to have a better standard. We can talk about black excellence all day. Until we're living up to black excellence, we can't expect for people to treat us like we are black excellence. This is coming from somebody that was a criminal, like a hardened criminal. This is coming from somebody that's saying, I see it. I see what she's saying. It doesn't mean that I agree with everything that she said, because a bus driver could have a lot of potential and could actually be trying to do something else. What she meant was, I am not okay with somebody settling for just being a bus driver. Now, you could be a bus driver and you could be you can run a nonprofit on the side, or you can run a business and you can clean buses as a business. She's just saying ownership is key. And we have to accept that just having a 9 to 5, I don't care how much money you make. You can make 6 figures a year at your 9 to 5. That is not enough. The offers that I've been getting are close to 6 figures. The offers from jobs. I got an offer from Amazon that's close to 6 figures. This would be the first time I've worked a real job since I was in high school. But the offers are close to 6 figures. And I wouldn't dare go to this job and say, I'm going to close my business down, or I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to further my education, because I believe a 9 to 5 will not sustain for me to take care of my children and to create generational wealth. It will not mean enough money for me to set my kids up to make sure that their kids are okay. So the only way I can do that is to have my own business and to make that type of progress, because my own business has unlimited potential, where my 9 to 5, no matter what, once again, I'm getting close to 6 figure offers already. But my 9 to 5, if I'm making $100,000 a year, it does not lend to me creating generational wealth. And the ceiling is only so high. You have C suites and different things. C suites mean like CEO spaces or whatever. So you have C suites that open, and I could just as well work my way up to a C suite. And some of the C suites, they're giving $5 million a year in stock options. And that's great. But that's the goal, and not I'm just going to be the bus driver. So whether we agree or disagree with Eboni, her having this opinion is not wrong. That's the point I'm making mostly. Her having the opinion of, I'm not going to date the bus driver unless he owns the bus, is not wrong. And we should not be shooting her down for having standards. The only way I'm going to have a problem with somebody that has very high standards is if they don't have what it takes to live up to those standards themselves. If you're not living up to your standard, no matter what it is, you should not be talking about what you will and won't settle for. I heard Lisa Ray do an interview a few years ago. I don't want to say it was the Breakfast Club, but it may have been. And she addressed the label of gold digger that people were throwing at her. And she didn't say, no, I'm not a gold digger, or, I don't care what people say. She actually explained why she has a certain standard for the men that she deal with. She said, my daddy took really good care of me. My daddy spoiled us. We always had. So when I'm looking for a man, I am looking for a man that can provide as well as my dad or better. And you don't have to quote exactly what I'm saying, but what she said was pretty much that as it summed up. And it's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with that. Now, it would be something wrong with that if Lisa Ray was sitting around doing nothing and expecting for a man to take care of her. The fact that she gets up and she gets out and makes her own money and she has a standard, it sets people on their heels. It makes people upset. And it's all because we feel like we should give each other a break. Oh, I don't need to give you a break. The Breakfast Club discussion talked about where we started from. And it talked about some of the Black people have a bad starting place, and they're just trying to get out the hole, and that's cool. I've been there. I've done that, and that's cool. I'm not wealthy by any means now, but what I'm saying is stop using that as an excuse. Stop being comfortable in your mediocrity. If you are only performing at 60%, 70%, there is 30 more points in the percentile. There's 30 more. It's room for a 30% increase or whatever. Like, you got 30 points that you can do better at. Why not try to be at 80%? Why not try to be 80% if you're at 70%? Why not take an assessment of your life and say, okay, I'm here. I need to do A, B, and C to get here. So I can do A, B, and C in 2 years. So let me go for that. Why not do that? Why keep accepting mediocrity? Why keep saying, I can't do it, so what? Y'all shouldn't hold me to it because I can't do it. Nah, go learn to do it. Stop making excuses about what you've been through, because people have been through worse and they're doing good. We're no longer in a place where we can consistently blame the system. We can't. Now, sometimes the system does deal you bad cards. Sometimes the system is unfair. I've been in the system, but I don't blame the system. Anybody talk to me know that I'm never like, well, I've been in prison twice. The system, the system. I've never done that. Anytime I talk about anything that I've been through, I take ownership and I am fully accountable for whatever happened, happens, and is happening to me. I am fully accountable. That is why I make progress, because I am fully accountable. So until you are fully accountable, you're going to be mad at people with standards. You're going to be mad at someone talking about some type of criteria that you don't meet. And a lot of that is because we are dealing in a stagnant state. A lot of us are in a stagnant state. If you are in a growth mindset, nothing she said would bother you. Nothing she said would make you uncomfortable, because you'd understand where she's coming from. You don't have to agree. We get that construed a lot of times. We feel like we have to agree with somebody. You don't have to agree with anything, but you can understand where she's coming from, especially if she's had some type of situations that she had to make it through. When you make it through your storms and everything that you got to do, and you start handling your business and you stick to something, you have a lot less patience for anybody making excuses. I don't want to hear excuses from anybody, because anything that's not happening for you is your fault. Accountability will get you where you need to be. In order to be accountable, you have to sustain a growth mindset, because a growth mindset would let you know that there is always room for improvement. Now, that doesn't mean you take everything someone says as law, because sometimes people talk out of their asshole. But it means you consider everything that come across your desk. And if you can use it, you use it. If you can't use it, you put it in the shredder. But you cannot blame people for having standards, or blame someone for having a level of expectation from somebody that she's dealing with. That is her standard. That is her opinion. She knows what she can deal with. The second part of this conversation is the fact that she's talking about how the black male is still falling behind. People, I spoke on this earlier in the week, that at the black graduation at Wayne State University Saturday, there were about 27 black males there, and there were over 200 black females. I gave it 15%. I didn't even say 10%. I'm giving it 15%. There was 15% male, 85% black females. If these females are going to school, doing what they supposed to do, why should they settle for anything less than somebody putting forth the same effort? It does not mean you have to go to college. You can go get a trade, or you can start your business, or you can do anything that gives you a higher potential for earning than just working a 9 to 5. Yes, you may be a construction worker, and that is fine. But why not go get certificates and licenses, like contractor licenses, that give you potential to make more income, that gives you the potential to actually go out and start your own business and get your own contracts? We have to think like that if we plan on making any type of progress as a people. Stop accepting mediocrity from each other and actually hold people accountable, because it's the only way that they'll get closer to greatness. I'm not going to talk on here all day. I actually have graduation in a couple hours, but I wanted to address this before I left out. Not a lot of people tuned in. It's the middle of the day. I know how it is, people picking kids up from school and everything, but this is here. I'm going to share it a few times throughout the rest of this week and the weekend, and I want people to comment and talk to me.